The Medal of Honor, the US military's highest award for gallantry in action, is a most coveted prize awarded only to individuals who have demonstrated exceptional bravery in combat, often at risk their own lives. Such recognition is not granted lightly. Since its establishment in 1861, it's only been conferred upon 3,525 of the countless tens of millions of men and women that have served over that time. But what of those 3 or so thousand? What kind of soldier does one have to be, and what does one have to do to be awarded a medal so exclusive? What I'm trying to say is we answer those questions by exploring the lives and accomplishments of 5 winners. Jacob Parrot, an emblematic figure from the Civil War, etched his name into history as the first Medal of Honor recipient. His daring exploits during the war demonstrate not only his exceptional talent, but also the extraordinary heroism that the Medal of Honor demands. Born on July 7, 1843 in Fairfield County, Ohio, Parrot's early life was typical for the era. With its agrarian backdrop, the country provided a serene setting for his upbringing. But like many, the tides of war would soon break this peace and beckon Parrot to play a part in deciding his nation's future. As the Civil War erupted, Parrot heeded the call to serve and enlisted in the army, joining the 33rd Ohio Voluntary Infantry. Before his notable Medal of Honor action, Parrot served dutifully, engaging in various skirmishes and battles that marked the early years of the war. His dedication to the Union's cause was evident, and he quickly gained the respect of his comrades and superiors alike. April 1862 would prove pivotal for Parrot. Along with nearly 24 other volunteers, Parrot was tasked with a daring mission deep within enemy territory. Their objective was audacious: to destroy bridges and railroad tracks between Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Atlanta. The plan entailed penetrating Confederate lines, reaching the Atlanta region, and commandeering a northbound train. True to the plan, when the train made a routine stop at Big Shanty, Georgia for breakfast, Parrot and his fellow Union soldiers seized the moment. With the passengers and crew unsuspecting and away, they covertly took control of the train's engine, fuel car, and a few boxcars, initiating their audacious escape. Despite gaining some distance and managing to inflict minor damage to Confederate infrastructure, their mission encountered obstacles. Hot in pursuit were Confederate soldiers, who commandeered another train to chase down the raiders. Attempts by Parrot and his crew to impede their pursuers by uncoupling cars proved unsuccessful. Ultimately, near the Georgia-Tennessee border, the commandeered train exhausted its fuel. With capture imminent, the Union soldiers, including Parrot, attempted to escape on foot. Their freedom was short-lived, as they were all swiftly apprehended. Upon capture, Parrot faced severe treatment. He was singled out for harsh interrogation, enduring flogging, yet through it all, he remained resilient, refusing to divulge critical information. His sacrifice and bravery did not go unnoticed. Upon his eventual return to the Union Army through a prisoner exchange in March 1863, he was recognized for his exceptional courage and daring. On March 25, 1863, in a historic presentation by Secretary of War Edwin Stanton in Washington, D.C., Parrot became the first recipient of the Medal of Honor. Have you ever felt the frustration of being blocked from your favorite websites while traveling? Well, meet your new internet hero, Surfshark VPN. Imagine you're in a cafe in Paris. You're craving a binge session of your favorite shows, but geo-restrictions strike, and that's where Surfshark comes in. Surfshark doesn't just solve this problem, it flips the script on internet limitations. It's not just a VPN, it's also your digital bodyguard. But what does Surfshark really do? Well, it's a mask for your online identity, encrypting your data so even internet snoops can't see your moves. Virtually travel the world with one click, connect to servers worldwide, unblock websites and streaming platforms anywhere you like. Plus, Surfshark Alert monitors your data, antivirus keeps your device virus-free, and Surfshark Search lets you browse without a trace. With 3,200 plus servers, GPS spoofing, bypasser, and more, Surfshark is a powerhouse of privacy and security features. And guess what? Being private doesn't have to break the bank. Visit surfshark.deals/sideprojects and use the promo code SIDEPROJECTS, and you'll unlock a special holiday season deal. 6 additional months for free. So, for a secure and private online life, make Surfshark a seamless part of your internet adventures. Use the promo code SIDEPROJECTS at surfshark.deals/sideprojects for that exclusive deal. And now back to today's video. Following his Medal of Honor recognition, Parrot continued his service to the Union. However, the Civil War eventually drew to a close, and with that came his transition to civilian life. After his military service, Parrot returned to Ohio, where he was integrated back into society and returned to the quiet and unremarkable agrarian lifestyle that he had enjoyed before the war. He passed away on December 22, 1908 in Buck, Ohio, and was buried in the local Grove Cemetery, where he remains to this day. Willie Johnston's name may not be as instantly recognizable as some of his contemporaries, but his story is an important one, for he is the youngest recipient of the Medal of Honor, being awarded it at just 13 years old. Born on July 12, 1850 in Morristown, New York, Willie's early years were defined by a close association with the military. His father, a member of the 3rd Vermont Regiment, often took him on campaigns, the young Willie loving the time spent with his father in such exciting surroundings. He joined the regiment himself at the age of 11, serving as a drummer for D Company, his father's company. He appears to have been a bright young lad too, as his enlistment form was penned in his own hand, then being a time when most adults, never mind children, were functionally illiterate. Before the act that earned him the Medal of Honor, Willie marched with the Union infantry during the harrowing 7 days battles of the Peninsula Campaign, a confrontation that would culminate in a Confederate victory. As the Union forces beat their hasty retreat from this engagement, the chaotic scene around them was one of desperation and defeat. Soldiers, in their bid to hasten their escape, dropped weapons and equipment, shedding weight to move faster. Drummer boys, often considered non-essential in the heat of battle, similarly abandoned their instruments on the field. But Willie was different. In a poignant juxtaposition of youthful innocence and unwavering resolve, Willie clung to his drum, carrying it through an arduous trek many miles long to safety. His determination paid off during the 4th of July parade held there. As the only drummer boy to have retained his instrument, Willie had the singular honor of playing his drum for the assembled troops. It was a symbol of perseverance. In the face of overwhelming odds, and his superiors took notice, recognizing the profound symbolism of Willie's act and the inspiration it could serve to the demoralized troops. He was awarded the Medal of Honor. He was actually only 12 years old at the time of his commendable act, but the bureaucratic process meant that the award wouldn't be officially presented to him until his birthday had passed, thus making him 13 at the time of the award. Following his Medal of Honor recognition, Willie continued to serve in the military. However, specific details of his subsequent military exploits are sparse. So brutal was the Civil War that even acts of a recognized war hero can slip out of recorded memory. After his military service, Willie disappears from the record, and as a result, we know nothing of his post-service life. We can only hope that the brave boy soldier got to hang up his drum and live out his days in peace. Thomas Kuster, the younger brother of the infamous General George Custer, was a gallant and accomplished soldier in his own right, becoming one of the few to be awarded the Medal of Honor twice. Born on May 15, 1845, in New Rumley, Ohio, Thomas's early life was marked by the challenges of a country on the brink of civil unrest. As tensions simmered and eventually boiled over into the Civil War, a then 16-year-old Thomas, eager to serve but too young, falsified his age and enlisted in the 21st Ohio Volunteer Infantry in 1861. Before his most notable accolades, Thomas's military service was defined by his participation in several pivotal battles in the Western Theater, including the battles of Stones River, Chickamauga, Chattanooga, and the Atlanta Campaign. His competence as a soldier didn't go unnoticed. In 1863, he earned a position on the staff of Major General James Neagley. Though he mustered out in October 1864, his thirst for service remained unquenched. He re-enlisted and was promoted to second lieutenant and transferred to the 6th Michigan Cavalry, which operated in Virginia. There, under the command of his brother, he played a crucial role in the Shenandoah Valley Campaign. But it was in April of 1865 that Thomas would earn both his Medal of Honors and transition from the mere brother of a famous general to a legend in his own right. The first came as a result of an engagement near Namazine Church, Virginia. Here, Thomas led a daring charge. In the thick of the confrontation, he seized a Confederate flag straight from the hands of its bearer, beat him across the head with it, and subsequently captured 14 enemy soldiers. Then, just 3 days later at the Battle of Sailor's Creek, he displayed equal, if not greater, bravery. Amidst heavy fire, he captured 2 more enemy flags after dealing with their previous owners as bullets and bombs rained down around him. The nation recognized his valor, awarding him a Medal of Honor for both acts. With these 2 medals, Thomas became the first of a select group who has been awarded it twice, a group that only has 18 other members. Thomas's fixation on enemy flags had 3 separate motivators. Firstly, it damaged enemy morale. A Confederate soldier, seeing his blood-stained banner being waved about by an equally blood-stained Union soldier, was quite the clear indication that the battle was not going his way. Secondly, it was a practical tactic. In this period, regimental flags served as vital communications tools, and their capture could plunge units into confusion, even leading soldiers to mistakenly fire upon their comrades at times. Finally, the tactic was also an emotive one. It was Thomas shouting his victory over the pro-slavery politics that he disdained. After the war, Thomas continued his military career. He received a commission as first lieutenant in the 7th U.S. Cavalry, where both of his brothers, George and Boston, were also serving. The trio saw action together in the Dakota and Montana territories. In 1875, Thomas was promoted to captain, taking command of C Company. However, Thomas's post-medal life, much like his brother's, was destined to be short-lived. The following year, the Battle of Little Bighorn, commonly referred to as Custer's Last Stand, saw the demise of Thomas, George, and their brother Boston. In a tragic turn of events, nearly a third of the 7th Cavalry were encircled and decimated by their enemy in under an hour. The three brothers met their end on that fateful day, their bodies discovered close to one another on the battlefield. Though initially buried at the site of his final battle in 1877, Thomas was given a final resting place at Fort Leavenworth National Cemetery in Kansas, where he remains to this day. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, is often remembered for his vivacious personality, his progressive policies, and his advocacy for the strenuous life. But he also holds a distinct honor, being posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor decades after his service, making him, in effect, its oldest recipient. Born on October 27, 1858 in New York City, Roosevelt came from a privileged background. Despite suffering from asthma and other ailments in his youth, he was a voracious reader and developed a strong determination to overcome his physical limitations. This determination would set the tone for the rest of his life, a life marked by ambition, adventure, and an unwavering sense of duty. Before he garnered attention on the battlefield, Roosevelt had made a name for himself in various political roles, including serving as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. However, when the Spanish-American War broke out in 1898, Roosevelt saw an opportunity for direct action. He promptly resigned from his political post and helped form the 1st United States Volunteer Cavalry Regiment, better known as the Rough Riders. As their lieutenant colonel and later colonel, Roosevelt led this motley crew of cowboys, miners, law enforcement officials, and Native Americans with an infectious zeal. It was for an action with the Rough Riders that he would be eventually awarded the Medal of Honor. The action in question occurred on July 1, 1898, during the Battle of San Juan Hill in Cuba. Here, leading from the front, Roosevelt and his Rough Riders, along with other army units, faced fierce resistance from Spanish forces. Undeterred, Roosevelt displayed remarkable valor and leadership, leading a daring charge up Kettle Hill that significantly contributed to the American victory that day. He was recommended for the Medal of Honor immediately after this action, but the recommendation got lost in bureaucracy, never to be seen again during Roosevelt's lifetime. After the Spanish-American War, Roosevelt did not return to active military service. However, his experiences with the Rough Riders and the lessons he learned about the importance of a strong and agile military would influence his ideas in the years to come. He believed deeply in the idea of speak softly and carry a big stick, underscoring the necessity of military strength for a nation to command respect on the world stage. A later career in politics allowed him to put these ideas into practice, becoming the governor of New York and then, after a twist of political fate, the vice president under William McKinley. He then found himself in the top job following McKinley's assassination in 1901, becoming the youngest ever president of the United States at age 42. As president, he championed progressive policies, conservation efforts, and oversaw significant expansions of the national park system. Furthermore, his tenure saw him mediate the Russia-Japanese War, earning him the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906. But despite these later accolades and achievements, the Medal of Honor haunted Roosevelt like a specter, and when he went to his grave in 1919, he went there disappointed and embittered that he'd never gotten to wear the illustrious medal on his chest. That wasn't until January 16, 2001, over 9 decades after the Battle of San Juan Hill and almost a century after Roosevelt's passing, where he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. The recognition came after many advocates, including his own family, historians, and veterans groups, lobbied for rectification of this oversight. As he would have been 142 years old had he still been alive, this makes Roosevelt the oldest person to ever be awarded the medal. It also makes him unique in sharing this honor with his son Theodore Roosevelt Jr., who earned his own Medal of Honor during World War II. Now, so far, we focused exclusively on 19th century recipients of the Medal of Honor, and that's not a bad thing. It is simply the reality of the medal that many of the biggest stories come from this period. But so that we don't forget that the medal has been awarded for 162 years and counting, let's close the video by looking at the medal's most recent recipient, one Larry Taylor. Born and raised in Tennessee, Larry Taylor's early life was one filled with the inherent values of community, resilience, and sense of duty. Like many young men of his generation with such values, the events of the Vietnam War struck a patriotic chord inside of him, and so he enlisted to do his part. He found himself serving as a helicopter pilot and developed a reputation for completing missions that many would deem impossible. With hundreds of combat flights in both UH-1 and Cobra helicopters under his belt, Taylor showcased his skill, adaptability, and tenacity time and time again. His dedication was further solidified by the scores of combat decorations he received, including a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses. By all standards, Taylor had gone beyond the call of duty many, many times. But then, on one fateful night, he raised the bar further still. That night was June 18, 1968. Responding to the desperate calls of a reconnaissance team that had become surrounded by enemy forces, Taylor flew his Cobra attack helicopter through the inky darkness, devoid of moonlight, stars, or any guiding luminescence, save for the glow of his cockpit controls. With the team's ammunition rapidly dwindling and enemy forces closing in, Taylor knew that time was running out. Disregarding direct orders to return to base for his own safety, he made the audacious decision to land his two-seater Cobra. Risking everything, he successfully extracted the four-man team who clung onto the exterior of the aircraft and whisked them away from the jaws of almost certain death. Such a maneuver had never been attempted before, let alone achieved. Taylor's audacity and resourcefulness in the face of imminent danger not only saved the lives of those four soldiers, but also redefined the parameters of bravery. From here, Taylor continued to serve with dedication, but remained unrewarded for his gallantry. He was released from active duty in August 1970, having ascended to the rank of captain. 3 years later, in 1973, he would be discharged from the Army Reserve, leaving the military once and for all. Post-military life saw Taylor return to his roots in Tennessee. Transitioning from the high-risk environment of combat to the civilian world, he channeled his dedication and work ethic into establishing and running a roofing and sheet metal company in Chattanooga, and settled into a rather normal and unremarkable routine. Over the years, it came as a shock to many of Taylor's friends that he had not been awarded the Medal of Honor for his fearless act in 1968. This oversight became the subject of a persistent campaign, culminating in President Joe Biden awarding Taylor the Medal of Honor in a ceremony in September 2023. Beyond the pomp and recognition, the real testament to Taylor's impact was evident in the heartfelt gratitude of the families of the men that he had saved. As they embraced him at Army reunions, their message was simple yet profound. You don't know me, but you saved my daddy's life.